By the way, let's do this. I noticed earlier you alluded to this, so it sounds like we might even be on a similar page on this one. On the Vitality one, I'll give you my take and then basically you can riff on it. But because I think we might have some area where we're aligned. I just got the vibe there. Because basically my take on Vitality goes like this. It's actually not too dissimilar in some ways to what I actually said in the previous split, Dom. I think this team has the craziest volatility / variability in where they can place based on the play of the players of any team in the LEC. Like, I think there's a world, no joke, where somehow if the Haru / Bo, and it seems like Bo's the one they want to use long term, if that can work, I think there's a world where they could be like contending for the title. The problem is, if it doesn't work, I also think they could be right where they were, like the 6th best team, or maybe there's even a world where like the 5th or 6th is their best. So my main problem is this: they've gambled everything on that fucking Haru Bo move and kicking out Selfmade. So there's a world where that works, but my issue is I still thought they had issues with some of the bot lane synergy. I don't think they've ever really made that work properly. So I just don't know if this is enough of a move, personally. Like, as much as Selfmade might have caused issues, doesn't seem like he brings up the morale or any of that shit. I don't think this move alone does it. Like I say, there's a world where if one of them turns out to have like a Malrang split, great, then maybe we blast off to the moon and they really are contenders. But part of me feels like I can't rely on that. Like, I think it's possible, but I can't rely on it. Where are you at on him?
So look, I'm similar with Vitality. Like, I generally have the feeling that it's not going to work. But when you look at Bo as a player, like, this guy had...
He was a fucking stud for sure, yeah.
So, I mean, he has had, like, one of the weirdest careers in esports, right?
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. No one knew, at least in the West, no one knew who the fuck this guy was, right? Like, apparently he had some hype from, like, streaming in China or something. No one knew who the fuck this guy was. He gets subbed because I mean, there was two issues. Tien had his physical / mental health issues, and then Beichuan like was just not performing. So he was like the 3rd string jungler on FPX. So people are like, 3rd string jungler, who the fuck is this guy? Comes in, he literally performed like one of the best fucking players in the entire world for 10 games. I mean, he didn't lose a game, right? Like, individual like they went 5-0 in series, they went 10-0 in game score, and he was just dumbstring everyone. Like, it was fucking insane what this guy was doing. Up until playoffs, where I believe Karsa had 117 kill Viego game. In his first, like, in his 5th game ever, competitively, he set the record for kills in an LPL game with 16 kills as a jungler for jungle kills in an LPL game. He got 16. The game was 23 minutes long. He had 16 kills in 23 minutes. What the fuck is that? Like, this is absurd. That is an absurd amount of kills. Like, he was just dicking everyone. And the thing that looked so interesting about his plays, it actually just looked like he could play everything. Like, he was bouncing back between all the picks. So he played Talia. He was really good at Talia. Then he played Olaf. And so it's like you have the mage pick. Then you have the bruiser pick. He was really good at the bruiser pick. Then he had like the skill, like invade, like constant fighting champion in Italy. Looked really good on that. Then he had to play the ganker in Pantheon. And he looked really fucking good on that. Then he played Lilia, which was like fringe. Some people played it. The general win rate was really bad. But like some people were playing it in LPL. It generally had a little bit of a higher win rate in LPL. And he played that and he looked good. He literally just looked good on like every single style of pick, where normally when you see a jungler come in that's like looking promising, they'll be good at like one specific style, and over time they'll branch out. Like, for example, look at Synchro, right? Synchro came into LEC. He looked good, but he looked like he was really good at that, like knowing where to be on the map, like ganking the correct lanes at the right time, knowing when to do objectives. It just looked like he had like the brain. He didn't have like too much of the hands, but he had like the brain, and he could fit enough champions into his like, you know, intelligent, cerebral play style that he could be effective. So Xin Zhao, Jarvan, those types of picks, right? This guy looked like he was smart, also mechanically good, also could like frontline, also could do like damage and play a carry role within the team. And like, dude, he became the star on a team with fucking Doinby on it. Like, he was the star of that team for the time that he played. And then he just got banned and we haven't seen him in a year and a half. That's his career. So you saw 10 games. He looked like he had one of the most crazy trajectories of all time. And then he just doesn't play for a year and a half. I don't know how you're supposed to rate this guy, but if he's anything like that, even if he's like...
Give him a try, yeah, exactly. You got to gamble on him, come on.
if he's anything like that, like he could be so.
Because the point you're making that's key that people don't get is the banned part. Is because, and remember, they're an honor-based culture. Like in theory, you're not getting second chances if you match fix and stuff like that in Asia. The reason why that's so key, Dom, is because when the fuck do you ever get a chance to get a player like that in a Western team? And in this team, like, sure, Vitality's supposed to be good, but like they haven't been great in the playoffs. Like the idea that something like that's even available is mental. Like 100% you gamble on him. But this pivots though into a classic topic on this show. But I want to have it again because let's be real. This is why I've been saying for the last year, since he was in the Fnatic team that started breaking down, one day Selfmade will be thought of as the fucking forgiven of the jungle role. Because he will always be remembered as he had a talent and in the right sort of team maybe he works. But the problem becomes, just like forgiven, when you cause so many issues in your teams, whether you're the main cause or not, you're just causing some issues. When you keep getting kicked, the problem becomes, when I try to make that argument, like, but if you build a team around them, eventually it becomes, can anyone even build a team around you, bro? Like eventually it looks like you just can't play with anyone, or you can only play your style and it has to be everything catered to you. Because I have to say this, if I was fucking Selfmade, here's why. This isn't, by the way, some cool thing of like, they just let me go and they were going to try something else. Bro, they've recruited a guy who was literally banned for a form of cheating, including financial cheating, and who probably doesn't speak fucking English, and it's the LEC. Bro, that's actually a slap in your face. That isn't like, well, he's just better than me. Bro, he probably doesn't speak English. Like, they're essentially saying, give me a guy who's also mechanically good, but can't even speak to me, and that's better than that fucking Polish jungler I just had. Like, mate, how many of these great players have to play with a player like him before he gets it? They say one thing to your face, bro, and they say other things privately about you. They don't all love you and think you're a great player. Think how many great players he's had around him now, Dom, in the solo lanes and his teams generally. He's had an amazing caster talent the last 2 years. And it's like, if after that they all, because here's the spoiler, it's like the LS Cloud9 thing. They're not going to say it publicly because they're your friends, but privately, you know this, in Cloud9 almost everyone wanted LS out, and no one wanted him in the team. Like, they all mutinied against him. It's like that in these self-made squads. They all start out the same way. It's like the Boangle. They all just go, you know what, you got to gamble on self-made. Think how sick he was at this period or in this meta. Like, if I get that guy, I win LEC. And the problem is they're all left at the end going, well, I didn't win LEC, get rid of him actually. So I think it's sad, because the sad thing about him is this, Tom. He clearly has talent. He can clearly always be an LEC player if he has his head together. But this is the last saloon for him, mate. Like, who's going to pick him up now? Surely, isn't he going to be on bloody Astralis next split or something? Like, what's going on with his career? It's just fucking tanked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's an interesting situation because I don't think that he's necessarily like as destructive in a team environment as. Oh, no,
I wouldn't. By the way, Forgiven was the worst I've ever heard of. I would never imply that, but like I say, he always seems to be one of the factors, if you know what I mean.
I think the issue is that for him is when Vitality, at least my interpretation is that it's not even that much like attitude based. I think it's mainly just skill based. I think that in this team with like all this talent, you need somebody who has the quality of a dog jungler, not a lion pretending to be a dog. You need to have somebody that's at least like part dog in them, where they can just go full Yankos if they need to and just enable the lanes. Like, you need somebody that's going to be like, yo, Perks, like, I believe in you to carry this fucking game. I'm going to go just full like vision control, gank your lane, push at it out when you need timing, do objectives on spawn. Like, you need somebody like that. Selfmade got better at that over the course of the split. I think that he made strides towards that. But it's just one of those things where I don't think he'll ever be like a truly great, supportive, like tank vision control jungler. I just don't think it's inherent to his style. So I think the issue then becomes that Selfmade's one of those players where not only do you need to like build the team around him, like to have a lot of success, you also need to just get lucky with the patches. Like, if you get that one fucking patch in the game where you've got a lot of skill expression, like mechanics-based junglers, he can be just the best jungler in LEC again, without a doubt. You know, like if it becomes a Kiana patch, it's doomed for other LEC junglers. Like, Jaegos is not being better than Selfmade on a Kiana patch. I just don't believe it. But
I mean, go on, so on.
For me, it's too risky. You know, like those situations don't come about often enough.
Oh, you can't reliably build on that blueprint. No, I know. But here's what I would say as a counterpoint. Now, let me push back a second. Here's what I would say. I don't mean attitude, by the way, as in he's just intolerable. It's not like the Forgiven case in that one. But every team he's in does seem to have like some sort of discord, some sort of communication issues. Magically is the word always thrown around. And then here's my biggest gripe against him as a player, Dom. I'll use what you said about Promiscu. It's a similar scenario. He has the attitude and swagger of a goat jungler. Dude, he has the attitude Jankos should reliably have in public, like justifiably rather. As in, like, he talks as though he's the god jungler. Like, you even saw it in the playoffs. He was like trying to banter people and allude to like who's bad and who's good and what does scrims mean and stuff. It's like, bro, you don't have any time for that. Get your game in order. Because my problem with him is this: the way his game, his skill set looks, and his ego is. You should be telling me at all times what you want to do in the game. You should know. You're the god jungler, remember? You're the fucking sick player. So, like, the idea that player can ever be sort of like, I don't really play these champs guys, or like, I don't really know what to do in the game. That doesn't vibe with that you can't have that attitude, because I'll tell you what, the difference is this. That's one thing Forgiven always had, by the way. Forgiven always knew how you should play through him. That's one thing that was never disputable. He'll always have an explanation of why you had to play through this champion in this way, let him get to this item, get to that point. What I don't like about Selfmade is, like, you haven't earned your ego. You haven't actually been as great. Like, by the way, I know everyone's now going to go, did Forgiven ever win? He was on way worse teams than Selfmade, for fuck's sake. Like, Selfmade's actually underwhelmed me in his career. I think it should have been a lot better.
I think that Selfmade has a personality that rubs people the wrong way, but I don't think it's like as deeply rooted as like Promiscu's ego. Like, I mean, even in my interactions with Selfmade, like Selfmade's the type of guy where he'll like come at you like pretty hard, but then like if you can just get past that, if you don't like let his initial words to a conversation completely like shut you down, where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to even engage with this. This is just uncomfortable. Like he's the type of guy that will come up to like to me, and like the first thing he'll say is like something like just like super disrespectful, like you're fucking old and washed up, and like you're a fucking dead streamer and all that shit. And like if you don't take that to heart, and then you're like, all right, so like let's talk about this situation.
Some of it's a bit of a front, right? It's just banter.
It is a front. He has like a really hard front, but you like if you get through that, he's actually a receptor. So I'm not okay. I don't think he's irredeemable. I think he just needs to be in the right environment, and he needs to be with like, dude, I would want to pair him with other Eastern European players that literally can take that more often. You know, like I think that he would be perfect with somebody like Humanoid, for example, where like, you know, like he would be receptive to it, and I don't think Humanoid would back down and be like, what'd you say to me? Well, I don't care what you said to me. This is what I want you to do. And I think that you could get through to Selfmade. It's just that a lot of people in esports, especially like young players, it's like off-putting, you know? It's like, it's tough to get through. So I don't think he's irredeemable. I do think he does need to get better at some of the styles that he's worse at. And I think that there are just like holes in his game. But look, if I was a GM, right, and I was like on a Misfits or something, I would pick him up. I would want to see how he played with my stars. I mean, even though you don't necessarily have all the Eastern European players there, I mean, just that type of team is what I'm saying. Like if I was in a place where, you know, I probably don't have much to gain, much to lose, kind of like how Vitality was last year where they picked him up originally. I think that that's the perfect type of team for him. Because if you get that right patch, I think that he almost needs to restart the career and have his SK phase again, where he's just like the best player, one of the best junglers in the league on like a bad team, and then like prove that he's better at the other stuff, and then he can get another shot into a good team. But I don't think he's done.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.